Okay, so we are back, and we are going to start with Maven and Charlotte. So you find yourself walking through the door, but as though, like, grabbed by something, you feel yourself violently shift direction in this directionless place. It's a weird feeling, but you definitely feel like you're not ending up where you're supposed to go. And when you exit the door, um, I am going to do a thing really quick where I am going to whisper to each of you on Fantasy Grounds what it is you're experiencing, and I'm going to let you go from there. This is going to be a little bit weird, but I
Okay.
want you to go with me on this, okay? I need each of you
Okay.
to roll me a d10, please, and this is just for Jen and Gale.
So D10.
A d10, please, yes.
Okay. Hey.
Okay, so it looks like Charlotte got a 10 and Maven got a 5. Okay, I am whispering to you in Fantasy Grounds what it is that you're experiencing. Give me just a moment.
Mm.
Aren't we once again glad that it's Maven here and not Gretha, who would be vomiting all over the place in so many different areas of the hut?
Yes, that's fair. Maven. So, however you interpret the things that I just sent to you, this is what you are experiencing when you exit the portal. And I'm just going to pause for a moment. I will break in whenever I need to, but for now, I'm just going to let you two interact.
Uh,
I don't
so I
think
came
this
out of
is
this
where
portal.
supposed
We're next to each
be.
other, right?
Yes, you are directly next to each other.
Yeah.
I kind of reach forward, and so I kind of get your arm, like it's your hand. I'm shorter than you, but like it's kind of your lower arm, and then I'd be like, I don't think we're where we're supposed to be.
I mean, it's very windy here. I don't think it'd be windy in a treasury, right?
It's
treasure
not
room?
the treasury. It's
By the way, Jen, it is windy. A wind has definitely picked up. Yeah.
The beard is sideways.
Keep going.
Fuck. Do you have pesters still with you in your
no,
beard?
no, I don't know. There's no one. It's just us. We don't have Calder or Delmain either.
And no, Tasha. Fuck.
No, Tasha. There's no doors. It's just big black rocks and yellow clouds. It's gonna piss on us.
Okay. Wait, where's the door we came in from?
I turn around. What do I see?
Why don't you tell me?
I mean, do I see the door we came in from, or does it just look like what I'm seeing?
Why don't you tell me?
Okay.
When you turn around, I gave you your prompt. When you turn around,
Yes.
what do you see?
I see. Well, I started to describe it. It's a broken landscape filled with shards of obsidian. Sickly yellow clouds overhead. So I guess what I see is there is no door behind us either. It is all the same. It's more black rock and yellow sky. It's just a lot of nothing.
It's fucking cold here, right? Like, what? What is causing that?
I don't know. It's cold. It's windy. There's nothing to give it warm. It's
Jen.
It's just
Jen, as you're saying this, like it gets the temperature drops. Like as you're saying this, as you're saying like there's no warmth here. The temperature in the place that you inhabit drops precipitously. It is definitely cold.
It's getting colder.
I mean, it is cold, but I don't. Is it getting colder? Charlotte asks her quietly.
Charlotte, you're inured against cold, aren't you?
No,
You're
she's
not.
inured against thunder.
The temperature does drop, not a lot, but definitely like noticeably.
Well, fuck. Okay. Let me try a thing, and she will try to spend her action focusing on Pesters to dismiss him into a demiplane and then resummon him in her hand.
Okay, that's an action, right? And it takes a spell
Yep.
slot.
No, not a spell slot.
No.
It's just while the find familiar spell is up. Or
Okay,
the
I'll say it works. Sure.
the
So
flock of familiars.
Pesters does appear in your hand.
Okay. Like tuck him into the dress, and he's like his little head is sticking out. But okay, all right. And I ask Pesters to tell me what he sees around us.
Pesters is freaking out.
Oh, no.
Pesters is freaking out because as far as Pesters can tell, like he's looking around and like okay, so he thinks he's blind. Like what you hear from Pesters is this kind of semi-panic, I think I'm blind. As far as I can tell, we're in a big empty space.
That's very weird.
What's weird?
I think there's a there might be a room, like a hut, like a little tiny structure around here somewhere, right? There's got to be a tiny structure around here somewhere. Like maybe off in that direction, and she just points randomly.
Jen, do you look in the direction she points?
Yeah, I mean, I look in the direction she points because I'm like,
You know,
you sure?
you see a small structure, maybe the size of a shack. It's not super sturdily built, but it's there.
That wasn't there. I mean, yes, there's like it's like a little shack. At least it'll give us some shelter.
Yes, it should. It would probably be the best shelter around here, or very good shelter at least. And she like really holds on to Maven's arm and is like, "Go ahead and lead us over there."
So I lead us through this broken landscape, doing my best not to. I'm being like it's. You're going to have to be careful. There's lots of up shards and rocks, so kind of pick your feet up and gently, and we'll go carefully this way.
I'm gonna say that at least once Charlotte is gonna stub her toe on a rock that she didn't necessarily know was there.
Yeah, I think as they're walking and she's stumbling a little bit over this rough terrain, she's going to freecast mage armor on herself, armor of shadows, and that will up her ward.
Yep.
All right, and I think she's telepathically going to ask Pesters, okay, where were you before I summoned you into my hand? Where did you end up?
Oh, so much confusion. Pesters has
All right.
no idea where he was.
All right. I mean, this is all telepathic. Like, I mean, I know you don't get out of, like, the hells very often, but come on, dude.
No, seriously, though, what is this place? Why have you brought me here? Is my torment to be eternal?
We're still in the hut, bud. Relax. She reassures him, even if she's not too confident on that right now.
He doesn't seem too reassured, it turns out.
Oh, okay. So we get to the little shack.
What does the little shack look like, Jen? Because you're the only one that can see anything. What does the shack look like?
So I guess the little shack, it looks kind of rickety, but both rickety, but also when she said it was like the best shelter around, it also looks sturdy. Like it's definitely an odd amalgamation of rickety and sturdy. So you've got like wood, and it's like wattle and like daub. So it's like you see like the side of wood, but you also see like the mud that's been put in there that's made out of stuff. So it's made into like a what looks like it could be a pretty insulated like shack. So I get up to, I guess, the door.
And are you keeping because you are walking with someone who can't see and does not have now has a familiar, but the familiar doesn't seem to be able to see anything.
Yeah.
Are you communicating that information, or are you sort of just walking up to the door?
No, I would actually be doing a narration as I'm moving, because again, this landscape is really rough, and so I'm narrating kind of everything. So I'm coming up, it's like, oh, it does look a little better than it did from far away. It's rough kind of hut, but I think, and here's the door, and she'll kind of bring your hand forward so that you could feel the door, which is, made of rough wood. So
yeah,
okay.
I think Charlotte will move her hand towards where she would assume a door handle or knob would be, and tries to open the door.
You manage to do so.
All right, hurries inside.
What does Charlotte hear, smell, experience when she enters the shack?
She is hoping for warmth. So I think once she pushes the door open, it's kind of that stepping in, almost a sauna kind of feeling, the drastic difference between outside and inside. It is very warm inside of this little shack.
Okay.
And yeah, I think she's relieved that when she takes the first few steps, the floor seems to be even. And yeah, I think she'll open the door, step just inside, following the path of the door, pull Maven in after her, and close the door. And I think she will then go, okay, let me check if we're still in the hut. And she goes into her bags and she pulls out the pouch of the handful of grave dirt. Is it still in the pouch?
It is still in the pouch.
Okay, we're still inside the hut. Okay. All right.
Jen, the shack that you have come into seems to be nice and warm. The floor seems to be relatively even. As you said, it is a little bit more sturdy on the inside than it looked at first.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any ceiling to be seen? It sounded like the wind was just going on forever out there. But did you see a top to this room?
Well, okay, so when I go in, am I describing what I think I see inside of this room, Rob?
Why don't you just go ahead and tell me what you see inside of this room?
So I would expect to see, I would imagine, as I come in here, it's not the biggest room. It's obviously a one room kind of shelter, like somebody's hut.
Yeah.
It's got a fire going on or if it's not a fire, then it's banked coals, so it's warm.
Yeah, I was about to say so you're telling Charlotte this, right?
Yeah,
so
I would
coals,
say
so
there
warm,
would be
yeah.
banked coals, because I would feel I don't know whether I'd expect anybody to be there, so she would kind of half expect, if it's going to be warm and she wants it to be warm, that maybe she would expect banked coals. So there's a rough sleeping area to one side, with a pallet. There's a rough table and chair situation over by the fireplace, and there's maybe she would kind of imagine this to look like, if she's coming into here and not sure what she's expecting, she would just expect it to be to look like the inside of other huts, she might have seen, areas where it's just kind of rough living. Maybe somebody doesn't live there all the time, but it's so yeah, she would be in there. She'd be so it looks like it's not, there is a ceiling. It's not very big. It's just one room. It looks like there's a banked fire. It definitely is warmer in here, and it cuts down a lot with no wind. And there's a bed, but it's rough in here, but it could be it's definitely more comfortable than outside.
Telepathically, actually no, I think because she has the familiar with her now, she is going to spend an action to put her senses into Pester's.
Oh, that'll go well.
With his echolocation, can she sense anything?
There is absolutely, as far as the echolocation can tell, nothing anywhere around you.
Okay. But he can still, while she's
go
in
into
his
Pester's,
senses, he can hear Maven talking, right?
Yes. And Pester's is still panicking at this point. Because Pester's is where am I? What's going on? What is happening right now? And when you go into his senses, you get that sense of emptiness, that sense of pure, what is even going on right now kind of confusion.
Okay. So she'll spend another action to take her senses back out of Pester's, and she will say out loud, okay, I think you need to calm your tits a little bit, and she will dismiss Pester's into the demi-plane again.
Okay. Pesters will vanish.
All right, so I think we might actually be in the treasury. Or something very much like it.
I mean, how would you?
Because I didn't spot this hut, Maven. I said it was here, and it was. Pesters can't see anything in this room. Not outside, not in here.
So, like, you're telling me that where we're at is not where we're at. What I'm looking at, what I'm feeling, what I'm...
How much do you understand about illusion versus conjuration magic? I'm going to take your silence as... All right, okay.
Don't know anything about magic. I know enough about forging magic. I know enough about helping to make weapons and goods that are magical through the use of rituals at the forge with those who are capable of doing so. I hit things with sticks.
Well,
and cook. I do a lot of cooking.
Let's go with the forge and the cooking angle then. You said there's banked coals in here, right?
Yes.
I'm betting if you sweep those banked coals aside with your ladle, there'll be a trap door underneath them.
I mean, all right. So she goes over to the thing and uses her ladle to move aside the coals.
Jen, what does she find?
I find a trap door, I would think.
What does it look like?
So there is I guess this could be a door. I see some hinges. I mean, are you sure this isn't just like the cold trap? Like, she keeps scooching it back. So don't put your hand in there yet. It's still warm. And she pulls out from her smith tools. Mm-hmm. She pulls out a set of gloves. And she puts the gloves on and uses that to sweep the rest of it away. You know, careful, it's dusty. They haven't taken care of this fire very well.
I need a very quick Constitution save from Charlotte, please.
Constitution save?
Yeah.
Okay.
And tell me what the result is, because we're not looking at the board right now.
Is this from a spell or a magical effect that is being cast or activated from within 5 feet of me?
No.
Cool. Constitution save?
Please and thank you.
That's a nat 20 for 21.
That was a natural 20.
Nice.
So you do for a moment feel like dust collecting in the back of your throat, and like there's an urge to cough really badly, but you manage to clear your throat, and you end up being okay.
I bet that door, the secret hidden door, takes us somewhere very secret and hidden. Probably something like a treasury.
Well, you have been right so far. So let's take this door to the treasury. She pulls it open.
Yeah.
What does... So you pull it open. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
heavy,
what
it's
do
creaky,
you...
it's squeaky.
Yeah, what do you feel, hear, smell, sense as you open the door?
So she still thinks of things more in, regular linear direction. So this being on the floor in the fireplace, she would be looking down into the throne room from a ceiling.
Okay. I think you mean treasure room. I want to double check that before you go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
treasury,
Just
right?
making sure. Just making sure. Um, you go to pull it open, but it doesn't open.
Oh, so I can't open it.
You yank at it, but it doesn't open.
It's not opening.
No, because we didn't do the thing that Tasha did. And she goes over and she does the knock pattern because she was standing right next to Tasha when she opened the previous door and says the same phrase.
Charlotte, what does the door feel like?
I think the door is warm to the touch as she's expecting, the little handle for it. And I think she focuses really hard on that in-between tunnel feeling that we've gotten for every passageway in the hut. She focuses on, like, for her, it kind of feels like when they've ever opened a door, it kind of feels like the wind kind of moves a little in that direction, and she gets that kind of very magical sense to the air, a little bit like standing next to someone who just teleported, like a little bit of that taste to her. So she's focusing on that feeling as she's pulling the door open.
Jen, you tried to pull the door open first. What's the door feel like?
The door feels, it feels heavy and like dirty and sooty. It's kind of the same rough hewn wood that the rest of the area is made out of. It's definitely old. It's been here a long time. It may feel like it hasn't been used much at all, but
And Gail,
you know.
Gail,
Mm-hmm.
what's the door feel like?
I think it feels now. When she pulls on it, she heard Maven struggling with it.
And it would make some clinking sounds, and you would have heard, you would have smelt the coal and heard the, yeah.
She is surprised with how light it is.
And Jen, what do you see, hear, smell as the door opens?
Again, she would be expecting. So she would literally be expecting to see not the throne room, but the treasure room from above.
What's that look like to you?
What does
it's going to be light. She's going to suddenly, there's going to be a lot more light kind of coming up. The throne room is going to feel or smell, in her mind, not throne room, I keep saying throne room. The treasure room is going to smell to her metallic and exotic and look like very gold, lots of light reflecting off of shiny things, because she's going to expect a treasury room to be full of treasure, and treasure to a dwarf is going to be gold and gems and like finely crafted things.
So Gail,
that's what she's expecting to see.
Gail, you pull open the door, and what do you feel, smell, hear?
I think she does, because Charlotte can sense light.
Why are you getting in my
She senses that there is another light source now in the room, and she's holding this very light door open, and none of the tunnels have ever given off light. It's been a black, inky void, and I think she holds there with the door open, and she turns to Maven and goes, "What if this is the Nexus?"
I thought you said it was the treasure room. I mean, I'm looking at the treasure room.
The opening vanishes.
Creepy.
Like, she's still holding the door open, but
the door is still held open, but the aperture vanishes.
Oh my! No, it's not there anymore. And she like reaches down and like.
Was it ever really there? Like, were you really looking at something, or were you just seeing what you wanted to see?
Is this just fantasy?
This is more magic than I've ever experienced before. What else would a Nexus feel like?
Okay.
This feels like a pilot. Like if you were gonna make a thing.
For the fact that, remember, I am not a mage. I hit things and cook things. Could you explain to me what this Nexus business is about? Because I have not one iota of a clue, and you all keep talking about it, and I don't know what to think or how to react. What is a Nexus?
Leslane mentioned it, the Eladran who was one of the hunters in the trophy room. She mentioned that the dragon they had hunted had gotten the closest anyone ever had to taking control of the nexus of the hut. And a nexus, especially of a construct as complicated and as amazing as the hut, would be the center point for all of the magic in here, for creating new things in the hut, for controlling the things that already exist in the hut, and for deciding where the hut goes amongst the planes. Magically speaking,
it sounds like the Nexus is the hut.
Yes, but there's always a point where everything comes together, right? There's always a base that you work out from when you're forging, right? You have to start with an ingot. You have to start with something.
So then the Nexus is the ingot, or the Nexus is the forge?
I think the Nexus is what the ingot became. I think this is a room where you can create things, including tunnels within the hut. So what better... There's so much potential here. I feel like we might be here.
But the thing is we tried to make a tunnel to the treasury, but then it disappeared. Why would it disappear if you can make something? But if it disappears, then it's not really a thing to begin with.
The shack evaporates around you.
Oh, cool. Cool. So now we're out in the wind again? Or are we in blackness?
You are outside in the place that was described when I messaged you, and all of the descriptions up to this point.
All of a sudden it's quite windy and cold again.
Maven, what happens when a child picks up your forging tools and doesn't know what to do with it? Can they sometimes make something?
Burned. Yes, sometimes they can make things, but it's, we're having to teach them, and it's very difficult. Are you saying that, well, you should be better at this than me, then make something.
And I think the first thing Charlotte thinks of willing into existence is a map of the planes, a touchable globe with all of the different planes in their arrangement as she knows them.
And what does that even look like to somebody who is not blind?
Well, I mean, she's imagining the one that she touched and felt in the library in Blackstaff.
Yes,
so it's kind of like
I don't know what that looks like. So does that even appear as a thing that Maven can see, or is it only something that can be touched?
I am going to go ahead and let Jeff make the comment that he wants to make.
It's an orrery.
I don't know what that is.
It's what it is. It's a globe. You know how globes have are often have that spindle that holds them in place so they can spin.
Oh no, I do get that.
It's that more so because it helps display things like orbits.
Mm-hmm. But what my question is
it completely transparent, or can you see it?
Is it something that Maven can see, because it is not something that Charlotte can see?
I know the one in Blackstaff is supposed to be made out of precious metals and stone, so
yeah. Well, Charlotte has never seen the one at Blackstaff, but she had her sight when she was a little kid. I think she has been imagining it made of marble.
Okay.
It was cold to the touch.
I'm going to see whatever it is, I guess, that you're imagining, because I wouldn't know what it is. Or
the most complicated globe with extra attachments and things rotating around it that you have ever experienced.
And you experience it with no understanding. You have no idea what you're looking at, of course. And to you, it looks like just a bunch of lines and dots and some symbols.
Can I at least have like a tent or a windbreak?
Can you? And I think Charlotte's just going to kind of like wait to see what Maven does.
I'd like the warm house back, please.
I'm gonna say that when you say, "I'd like the warm house back," you don't get anything. Still cold, still windy.
Maven, magic is about what you will to be, not ask. Make it.
I want a forge. Warm forge.
The temperature raises a bit.
She's imagining in her head home forge. It's very, very hot. There's tools and there's ingots and there's the smell of metal and fire, and it's both light and dark because you've got the fires and stuff, but it's cave. You know, she's used to being into a cave, and like there's dwarven markings everywhere, and there's a nice like just forge, hot forge right there.
You open your eyes and you see a cave around you. You see a forge, but the thing about the forge is, though it's hot, you're able to see it, you're able to feel it, you're able to smell it. You don't hear anything.
Well,
You know,
that's better
Yeah.
windbreak.
it is
And warm.
nice and toasty. Well
Little
done.
bit creepily quiet, but all right then.
Gail, as Maven says that, you note that, like, yeah, no, seriously, this is not like it was before. You can't even hear the wind outside. Like, it is eerily silent in this very, very warm, to you, fairly open space.
I think she takes a step forward and puts her hands on the map of the plains. And I think she says aloud, as sweetly as she can, "Oh, Hut, would you like to go on a trip?" And she listens.
You do not get any response.
I think she taps that pattern, da 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 da, onto the planar map.
I'm afraid this is not the lock for that key. And you actually get those words in the back of your head. Both of you get those words in the back of your head.
Something talked to me in my head. That's new.
It is.
Well, you heard it too. That's. I feel
Well-
like that's more normal for you.
You're not wrong.
What does that mean? This is not the lock for that key.
What indeed?
And if this is not the lock for that key, what key belongs to this lock? And she's thinking about a key and a lock so hard that I would imagine that a lock would appear like in the forge, and a key, her ladle, would turn into a key.
Tell me what kind of lock.
The lock is a very, very large, ornate looking, like it's like somebody took a house lock and just made it bigger. So the actual opening for the skeleton style key is really big. for her. And like the lock is just, it looks like it would be the lock on like a dwarven front door, just beautiful, ornate. And then her ladle now looks like a very large skeleton key, like something Maven would carry on her chatelaine to carry around to unlock stuff in like areas, like to unlock a chest or something like that.
What does the lock what does the lock smell like?
The lock smells like it smells like polish, actually. It's gleaming. It smells like polish. It's catching the light from the fires of the forge.
Gale,
Mm-hmm.
you smell the sort of acrid smell of metal polish. What do you do?
Acrid? No, she put some really, really nice smells.
I'm
into her
sorry, but metal polish never smells good.
Never smells good.
Also, what a dwarf might consider smells good.
That's
might be
also entirely fair.
That's
Yes.
fair. That's fair.
Gale, tell me a little bit about the scene. Tell me a little bit about what you're smelling, feeling, tasting.
I think she's feeling happy, warm. The smell is a little weird, but she hears, like, she heard Maven talk about a key and then almost heard the key on the ring kind of jingling as it came into existence.
Mm-hmm.
My
And I
ladle
think
is now a key.
She,
And there's a
while
lock.
still touching it, walks around the little diorama of the plains and says, "Where would you like to go? Surely there's somewhere you want to see. Where has she not let you go?"
No response.
I mean, everything in the hut is done with doors. That's been the way that it's been put together in a way, at least from what I've seen. Everything's been done with doors. So now you're asking, it said not the right key for the lock. And you're asking, I'm assuming the hut, where the hut wants to go, where the nexus itself. So
I know where I
do
want
we
to
need
go.
to unlock the door for the... She puts the key ladle into the lock
Yeah?
and turns.
Does not open.
I was hoping that would do something, but I mean, giant lock, giant key, little person. Do you want to give it a try? And she reaches her hand out. It's like, key in hand, lock. Maybe the lock will be a little bit more for you since you know more about the Nexus and magic.
Yeah, let's give it a go. She guides
her hand over to be on the ladle.
Charlotte,
And then says, so
what does the lock smell like?
I think it smells like blood.
Maven, your perception of the lock shifts a bit. What does the lock smell like?
iron.
Ooh. And suddenly, both of you feel like the lock, however you're perceiving it, is just slightly more real than it was a moment ago.
I think as she pushes the ladle in,
Which
Charlotte-
feels like a key. Like the ladle, definitely the handle feels like you've got the giant end of the key, and like maybe there's like an actual ring hanging off of it.
but she's listening and she hears the tumblers as the key goes all the way in.
Yeah, because if anybody's going to be able to lockpick it.
And I think the very last one is it fully is in lock. Sounds a little bit like the beating of a heart.
Jen, what does it sound like as Charlotte puts the key into the lock?
As Charlotte puts the key into the lock, it first sounds like a regular lock where you're hearing the sound of like the key scraping along. But for some reason, as it moves in there, it gets wetter. Like it's like a different, like, yeah, like it almost squelches in, and like, because they're kind of doing this together at this point, and it feels to her like it's less like a lock in, like a key in a lock, and more like the turning of a joint.
And when the key clicks into place, what does that sound like?
Sounds like a bone popping into place.
Gale, what does it
Mhm.
sound like as you insert the key into the lock?
Sounds like a bone popping into place and something taking a harsh inhale, like it felt it.
And Jen, what does Maven hear as Charlotte begins to turn the key?
She hears the inhale, and then she hears a sigh of relief.
The door
Because
opens.
yeah.
And on the other side, Tasha, with Swoops looking very, very nervous, perched on her shoulder, says, "It took you long enough." And you're able to enter the
Handling,
treasury.
like holding the ladle like this. Oh, that's actually a great image. Like,
Now, friends, I feel like that is a good time for us to end our session, especially since, unbeknownst to the folks watching, a few situations popped up while we were recording. But I want to go to the next scene, but I also want to do a post game really quick. So it's possible that the next game or our next recording is going to be mostly just Em and Jeff and potentially Gale. But for now, that was enough by itself that I want to do a quick post game, even though we're kind of changing the order of things. So I'm going to go back to the chat.